which is quite, in the news at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's sort of trying to put my head in the space of a whistleblower because I don't think I'd ever had the courage. I've been in the position where I've actually alerted people to problems in an organisation.
Right.
I've been punished severely for it, but never been a whistleblower as such as like put it on a big scale and actually say, hey,
this whole thing's rotten from the...
Yeah,
wow.
I mean, just as someone that's just, saying, hey, there's a problem. I think there's a problem here to your boss or someone is painful enough. So I can't imagine what it'd be like to go out in the world and say, hey, this massive thing has happened and have like people with death threats
and it seems that those people seem to be the least protected.
The least protected, yeah.
So what band was that we just see?
Well, that's something I'm yet to teach the band because it's that new. I'd like to teach the band that one. It's a bit tricky. I mean, for drums, Rob will do fantastic stuff with drums. It's a bit harder for a bass player because there's a few tricky things in there where it's fairly drony. Tim Ritchie is very clever on bass, so he'll do something really, really imaginative.
And this is Comedy of Errors, the band that's playing tomorrow night.
Yeah. So I'm going to have Tim Ritchie on bass, who's known probably from Where's Rumskull. He played with us in Comedy of Errors years and years ago for a stint.
Yeah.
And I didn't kill him or lose him.
Because some of the members have left the earth. Some of them have just left Wollongong.
Yeah, exactly.
How has it been? This is a band that you started way back in the late 80s. You've been doing a few shows since getting back together.
Yeah, well, see, that was a weird thing because the reason I did a gig in the first place is because it was a commemoration of the original drummer that died 2 years ago, and then there was another bass player. I was going to reform the band, not necessarily Comedy of Errors, but we were going to reform what we were doing, and he had something happen in the UK and he died. So it sort of was like, okay, I'm going to commemorate these people and the past people, and it was just going to be that one gig at La La La's, but it kind of... I don't know, the adrenaline, the fun. Like, what do you do this for? Like,
just like like at the start, you also took it to Sydney. You went up to Petersham. And
I
played
went
there,
to Petersham and tried to get people there. I mean, we had people there that were really appreciative, but we just weren't getting the numbers that the booker goes, hey, let's come and do you again. It's like. Yeah, it's kind of been one of those things with Sydney and me. It's I find it hard to get the crowd there. Right. Sometimes I do it, and then the venue shuts and stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, but you also open venues, like that you put. That's the whole thing about you. You also.
I love the way we drift.
Stephen Robinson's you put out a bunch of music different ways. I mean, you came in and talked the Machine and Fool and Us released music recently. There was the music you made at Abbey Road. What sort of so is it just the Comedy of Errors stuff plus a new song tomorrow? What
we've got a couple of new songs coming on there. So there's a couple of Money Killed Johnny songs in there.
Of course.
Yeah. So how many bands?
How many band names do you reckon you've been through? Because I should say your
many.
Stephen's Instagram page is called Very Varied Steve.
Yeah, exactly. But it was funny. It was one gig we sat down at the Servo and the band asked us, well, what name are we today? And they were just like, we don't know what we're doing. And then we just took it from... It comes from the fact that I don't like my own name. So, and there's a million... Well, if you Google Steve Robinson, man...
Okay, yeah.
There's a million of them out there. There's astronauts. There's a boxer, apparently, who does really well in the US. But funny, there's millions of Steve Robinsons in Australia, but I was the only one to get the domain, steverobinson.com.au. So somehow, maybe I'm the smartest Steve Robinson or just the most fortuitous. I don't know, but, I grabbed that. But so I've always keep coming up with band names to try and cover up the fact that I don't like my own name.
Wow.
Yeah, otherwise it'd be Steven the something or Steven.
Okay, but then you've got Money Killed Johnny and various other names. Okay, all right. So, what else has happened? I did see you had a bit of bad luck with the home studio and had to do a bit of rebuilding after flooding. Yeah, we flooded it out. That's an interesting case. It was worse. It was my boys' bedroom, so I've actually lost my boys. They've moved out. So. Oh right. So not just the gear.
Yeah, no.
But as the unofficial mayor of the music scene in Wollongong, as you have been called before, how are you seeing the music scene in Wollongong at the moment?
Well, it's great for young people. It's trickier for all the bands, especially if you're doing original music. If you do the covers, you're probably doing all right.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of really clever young people coming up who are really clever with social media and are clever with that stuff, where people like me are just like, I'll put a post up and it'll get 3 people. And then Facebook will demonise it because I said something wrong and put a link in it or something and said, no, you can't do that. So then, the old...
Do even kids know young people know how to navigate that stuff? That seems pretty...
Man, I don't know. It's a tricky one, but... I mean, it's the same thing. I see the same as before. There's a lot of people with a lot of energy. I was really lucky when I started the Oxford. I had a lot of young people that had so much energy. You know, there was Dave Benuke, who's doing another album now with the Summer Times, and then was
that's right. They got that
Michael
new song.
Simic now, who did all sorts of stuff afterwards. You know, after P. Harness, and you know, he went to Edinburgh, and it was all sorts of people who did great stuff because there was that sort of energy.
There was like a launching pad, wasn't it, of energy there?
It was amazing. So I just rode that wave. You know, I was just lucky enough to do that. You know, where I think it does that, and I think yours and ours, those people in Music Farmers, are really clever. They sort of rode different waves as well. You know, I don't know what next. You know, you look at Hockey Dad; it's amazing. We could never dream of doing stuff.
I just heard that they would just maybe laid down some new music in Belambie the other day, although I don't know if that's official yet. And you're also playing with Helena Massey. She's a young performer.
Yeah. Well, speaking of young people, she's really clever, and it's good to try and get women on stage still. You know, I still trying to do that, and she is quite shy to get on stage.
This was something that you started with the Oxford Tavern, of trying to make sure there was diversity. This is back in the early 90s.
It was back in the early 90s. I looked at the book and I realised that everyone was a male, and it's like, this is ridiculous. And so I just went on a mad hunt, and it was almost like begging, you know, women to go on stage. You know, anyone that wasn't a guy, you know, come on, please, just come on my stage.
Was that because they didn't feel confident because there was not much of a scene in that way at the time?
Yeah, well, I think there's a whole social. I think someone should do a PhD on this, a thesis on it, because it comes down to the oppression of women in the first place. I mean, when you go on as a guy, you can be as stupid as you like. You can wear what you like. If you go up on and I've worked with lots of women singers, and as soon as you go up there, there's women, guys, everyone judging you. What's she wearing? What's she saying? And when I was in Pan's Daughter, you know, Judy at the time, I remember we did this sort of thing where she ripped my shirt and I ripped her dress a bit and and that was like this horrible, you know, what's going on stage sort of thing, you know, because she dared to do something like that, you know, and it was all just theatrics. We were just, you know,
of course, you're right. And so she copped it harder than you did.
She copped it. She was really good on stage. She was very tough, so she could just you know say no. She wouldn't handle any rubbish from anyone. So she was quite tough, you know. But women that aren't that tough, you go through a real, a roller coaster of what you're doing on stage, and being on stage with them and watching that happen, you know. And I remember one song, I had a female singer. She sung a song, she finished, and a woman just yelled so loudly I could hear it, just bitch. She just yelled bitch, and it's like, why? Why did you yell that? You didn't say bastard to the guitarist or when I was singing, you know, like, what?
I want equality in my heckles, please. Stephen Robinson, tomorrow night at the Servo, Comedy of Errors, supported by the Helena Massey Trio, from 6 p.m. at the Servo in Port Kembla. You did... when you were cleaning up after the floods, you found some records.
I found some
CDs.
CDs. I found a whole lot that were wrecked because, and kind of not too worried about that they were wrecked. They were sort of more experimental, and then I found these other ones, and it was a whole box, untouched, of albums I recorded with Lindsay. But the good thing is I had Denise Thomas on backing vocals. I had Dave Benuke on backing vocals doing guitar. I had even Malika on there, and Jen Davis doing some backing vocals.
So it's representative of the band.
A lot of people, and then Mel Wishart doing sax on there. It's great.
Well, I've got Easy from that album. What's that album called?
It's called On the Wings of a Wild Thing.
And you'll have those rescued.
I'm going to have them there. If I remember. I didn't bring it today, okay? I forgot today.
But I found the song online. Have a great gig tomorrow night at the Servo.
Thanks, heaps, man.
Comedy of Errors and the Helena Massey Trio. This is Easy on ABC Illawarra.
'Cause you and I are easy. It's everyone else